Alright, everyone, I just felt called to do this, so I just had to go do it right now. I was actually in the middle of eating food, or making food, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna do this unprompted, tell my story about the UFOs, um, and how it all came about. It's gonna sound crazy, and it's gonna sound like something that someone would make up in their head, especially because of how it starts. Because it starts off, and I'll just get to the point. Um, this isn't just like seeing UFOs. This is that basically I was being stalked by a whole bunch of them in the woods, like circling our cabin, and I chased one down with a machete at one point, and then ran away after realizing it either was invisible or was hiding really well. I don't know which one, but regardless. And it ended with my friend throwing a log at one of them and hitting them in the chest and hearing a distinct, like, like I can't really do the sound that great, but it's the sound of the wind being knocked out of someone. It was a very distinct sound. And at that moment, I turned and said, I think you hurt it, or I think you hit it. It was either you hurt it or hit it. I don't know which thing I said. It was one of those. And as soon as I said that, like all of the things around all at the same time just went like in a, not like directly to it, but like in the perfect circle that they had formed around us to that location, and we just freaked out. Um, Barricaded the door to the cabin, ran up to where we were sleeping, and just hid there with machetes, and somehow we actually fell asleep. But I'm going to start at the very beginning. Um, yes, it's going to sound crazy, and it's going to sound like I'm making it up, but regardless, it starts with me being in a phase where I was deeply into Carlos Castaneda and shamanism and things of that nature. And I was a teenager, like just out of high school, like just barely graduated high school, I think. Yeah, I think I'd just gotten out of high school like a year before that or so. And so, anyways, I'm at this bookstore with my dad and stepmom, both of which who have passed away. So, but regardless, I'm at the store with them, and I find this book, and it was almost like it was divinely meant to be there. It was really weird, and it was called "How to Contact Aliens," and I was like, "Oh, that's the book for me." So I buy the book, and the person that even sold the book to me was going, "Wow, I didn't know we sold this book here." And I was like, "Yeah, it was the last copy." And she's like, "I had no idea that we had this book." And it's just like the one single copy they had. It's just a strange circumstance to begin with. So, anyways, I read the book. Basically, the gist of the book is that it's all about creating an intention. It's all about kind of realizing that well, there's different kinds, but you want to connect with the kind that is like your soul family on some level. You can look that up if you want. I'm not going to explain it. But basically, the idea is to create an intention, and if you're able to, have an area that you go to on occasion. Be like, this is the area where I will expect to see you, and be comfortable with them showing up there. And this has to be somewhat of a designated area where, other people aren't necessarily going to be. Excuse my crazy hair. I know I get a lot of comments about how crazy my hair is all the time. Whatever. Anyways, so I kind of did that. I just created the intention. I read the book a lot. I focused on it a lot. And I kind of emotionally made myself expectant and feel like I could handle it if it was to happen. And I think that's kind of the key, and the intention. of course, and it's kind of like you're telepathically communicating with them through the intention. So, anyways, that sounds crazy, I know, but that's what I did. And I'm living with my dad and stepmom. We staying with them, I should say, because they lived out in the middle of the forest. They're building a cob house, basically out of mud and sticks and stuff. But it was actually a 2-story cob house with a shower and stove and everything. It was pretty cool, actually. But like totally off grid. And like, basically, the people that live out there, they're either like crazy or like meth addicts, or they're growing marijuana. That's basically everyone that lives out there for the most part. Or they're just like my family, where they just really wanted to live in nature away from society. So, anyways, I'm hanging out there with me and my friend, and my dad and my stepmom. And my friend goes, "Look at those! See those red lights in the sky?" And we're all like, "What are you talking about? Like, what are those? Like satellites, or like, I don't know, like a tower with like a red blinking light?" That's what I was expecting. But they did seem like they're kind of moving. And at first I was like, yeah, maybe it is ETs. I don't know. Who knows? After a couple hours, we kind of were like, wow, that's really weird. And then we went to bed, and it wasn't a big deal. The next day, we saw them again, and they were closer. And at this point, we started wondering, and I don't remember the exact progression of days, but basically what happened was we'd see them more and more over like maybe 4 days or something. We were seeing them directly above us doing the most crazy stuff ever. Now, it would be like you'd see what looks like a star, and it would just go doop, 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 and then be other ones like going like as this one's doing that, like just like weird stuff. And then they'd disappear sometimes, just vanish, and then sometimes they'd just be like sitting there forever, and they just go and just like gone. Other times they would. One time it looked like there was one. This is one of the more unique things I saw, where it kind of was it was going in this direction. It was like going, and then it was like out of the blue, like it looked like a cloud of mist appeared and just like went into the cloud, and it was just gone, and then the cloud was gone too. That was an interesting one. Basically, my dad, who has passed away very recently, saw them, or sorry, we were seeing them every day, and he was like, okay, let's go buy some binoculars and some telescopes. So we went to the store, and we didn't have a lot of money. We live in the freaking forest, So this was like a big amount of money to us to go throw all this money on telescopes and binoculars and stuff like that. And so we're looking at them. It's crazy stuff. This is just one moment where I'll never forget, where my dad was looking. I don't know if he was looking through binoculars or a telescope. I don't remember, but he was looking at them. We're taking turns with the things. I'm waiting for the next turn to look at him, and I'm like, he's just standing there silent. I'm like, what are you seeing? And it's just dead silent and just no response. And I'm just like, okay. Like, a minute goes by. What are you seeing? Just dead silent, nothing, no response. I'm just like, okay. It just goes on and on like this, and I'm just like, hey, what are you seeing? And no response. And then eventually he's just like, I don't actually remember how it ended. I just remember that one part in particular. But eventually he tells me that that he's seeing the same thing that I was seeing, that we're all seeing, which is like they're just like, they look like orbs, but then they morph into a flying saucer, like before your eyes, and then you're seeing a flying saucer, and you're like, what? And this is not just like binoculars being weird. We would see this with our eyes as well, not just through the binoculars, but it was much more clear through the telescopes and binoculars, obviously. And my friend said at one point he saw a being inside of the flying saucer shape. I can't say for absolute sure that I saw that myself, but it kind of looked like that may have been the case. But it's like, I can't say 100% sure what exactly I was seeing, but they were definitely flying saucers, and then they would turn into an orb, just like what you're seeing these days on all these videos, and it's like almost like statically charged, like just like this kind of blurry like light with like movement, and then it will kind of turn into like a bunch of different colors of light spinning around really fast, and they're all kind of different. Sometimes there'll be one color more so than another. Sometimes it's just like a bunch of colors spinning so fast that it looks white, but when you zoom in on it, you see that it's a whole bunch of different colors spinning around. But when you zoom back, it just looks white. So, yeah, I'm doing this unscripted, so I'm just trying to think off the top of my head if there's anything else I need to mention before I move on here. Oh, yeah. So there would be two of them in the sky, and they would come together and turn into one. And then just continue as if it was one. And it was just weird, and they do that all the time. And the other thing would be that every night, my dad and stepmom would go to sleep, and me and my friend were up in this cabin. We'd walk up it's kind of like walking halfway up a mountain or something. I'll get there. We'd get there, and we'd stay up a little bit later. And we'd see even more crazy stuff. And that's when things would get really weird. That was about... Actually, it was basically from the very beginning. We were hearing things kind of circling around the cabin, but that's normal. We're in the forest, We're used to deer. We're used to hearing things out while we're outside. That's just being in a forest. There's bears out there. The bear broke into our car, smashed the window. One time, I unzipped a tent, or one time I was in a tent, and I hear my stepmom go, "Ty, there's a bear." And I'm like, "What?" And I unzip the tent, and there's a bear, like literally like 3-4 feet away from me, and it just turns and just looks at me, and I'm just like, "It's a bear!" And I say that out loud, and I just zip the tent back up and go back to sleep. That's life out there in the forest. So we're used to, hearing stuff like that, so we didn't think anything of it at first. But as the lights got weirder, we'd hear more things like circling, and it was like my friend would point out that it sounded like it was circling us, and I'm like, I don't know, sure, if you say so. But we would, and yeah, I do feel bad about this, and I wish I could go back in time and change this, but we would throw rocks at whatever it was, because it was getting weird, and we'd be like, what is going on? And we'd start throwing rocks and stuff at it. And at the same time, we'd be, not at the same time necessarily, but, around the same time period, we'd be seeing these things, and we'd be like, no, I don't think it's really... And we'd be like looking at it and be like, I think that's just a star. And then as soon as I say that, it would start going... And be like, oh, okay, so it's not a star. And it would just be the most unique, strange timing, and it really felt, maybe some of it was in our head... Admittedly, maybe some of it was in our head, that it seemed like what we would think it would kind of like react to. But there were too many instances where, we'd be like, we'd kind of like ask for it to do something crazy to show, like we'd be like, is this like are you really like a UFO? And then it would like do something crazy, and it would just everything would start moving in the sky all at once, and it would just be like, whoa. So there's just some really weird stuff going on. Basically, it got to the point, and then this is where it just starts to sound crazy, is the thing circling us. And then people stop listening, and they're like, okay, he's just schizophrenic. But no, they were circling us, and every night, not every night, the first night it just was like one, or a couple nights, it was just one or so, maybe a couple, I don't know, it's hard to tell when you're in the woods. But eventually got pretty obvious that there was more and more of them, until it was like 10 of them or something. I mean, I can't get an exact number, but it to me, I thought it was like 10 or 15. My friend said that it was probably less than 15, like probably 10, but I felt like it could have been 15 easily. I don't know. But regardless, they were circling, like, say, here's the cabin. They were, like, circling us like this. Like perfectly, like in a perfect circle, and they would, like, move at the same time like this around us. But, like, a bunch of them all at once. And it was really crazy. And so we had flashlights and machetes out there because we're out in the forest and whatnot. And so we would throw things at them and kind of chase them just to be like what the hell's going on here, And I chased one down one time and I was terrified, but I chased it down. And to the point where it stopped running, and it was like it just stopped and it was waiting for me there. And I got to this area. It was dark. It's possible that I was just hiding behind some bushes, which is probably what happened. It probably was just hiding. But I wasn't sure. I just couldn't see it, and I was like, this thing's either invisible or it's hiding really well. And I'm terrified because it stopped running. And it's waiting for me. And I wasn't trying to hurt anything or, stab an ET or anything like that. So I just turned around and like ran back. And my friend, he said he almost cut my head off because I was running back to the cabin and he was hiding behind the edge of the cabin with a machete like this. And I got run by and he was like, I almost just cut your head off. But I don't know if it was that night or the following night or maybe a couple nights later, but either way, eventually my friend threw the log. Or it was like a big stick. It wasn't like, I don't know. It seemed like a log because it was huge. And, we were kind of ripped out there moving things, literally lifting things for a living. Helping people move and lifting lumber for a living, so we were kind of ripped back then, and so he was throwing these big log sticks. Like what I said, you heard the sound of someone being hit and the wind being knocked out of them, like that. But it wasn't quite like that. It was overly exaggerated. It was more like kind of like that. Yeah, I said what I said. I think you hit it or heard it or something like that. Like I said, they all made that, like we just heard them, but they moved faster than we'd been out there in the woods. We know, it was very fast, very fast. It's possible it could have been a deer, but that many deer in precision and reacting to me saying that and that sound, no. It definitely wasn't people, because people cannot move that fast, guaranteed. So yeah, we barricaded the door. We ran into the cabin, which was behind us, barricaded the door with everything that was in the cabin, put it in front of the door. Climbed up to where we sleep, and what's interesting is, well, first, before I get there, I'll do it in order. So I did feel like I was hearing some humming noises outside. Sure, it could have been placebo, at that point we're really paranoid. So I will admit that is very possible. That could have just been me imagining humming sounds, imagining things like that. But we both thought that we were hearing humming noises outside. And I don't know if this is true or not, but my friend said that he woke up in the middle of the night to a flash of light coming through the window behind my head. And so I'm like, did something happen to me that I don't remember? I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me someday, but I don't know. But I'm not saying that anything did or didn't happen to me. Honestly, I just don't know. But regardless, that's something that my friend said. I don't know if it's true. But maybe he was just waking up from a dream. Who knows? Regardless, that's the story. And here's the crazy part. That's not the crazy. That is the crazy part. But what's really interesting is that we never, ever, including my parents, no one on that property, we never, ever saw another UFO in the sky after that night. And it had been 2 weeks straight or so. I wasn't keeping track exactly, but it was about 2 weeks or so of this every single night. And after we hit that thing and heard that noise, we never saw a single UFO in the sky ever again. So I screwed up. I was in the wrong environment with the wrong person who was throwing things when he shouldn't have been. I participated in throwing some rocks as well, especially in the beginning, because I was like, what is this? Like, it's an animal. Like let's throw a rock in the direction so it'll move and we can figure out what it is. But unfortunately, my friend was much more afraid than I was, and that kind of ruined my peaceful approach. And because of that, I don't think that I'll ever have that opportunity again. I've tried since then and had no results, although I haven't spent that much time out in the woods like that since then. So that's my story, and I think that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.